Steve, you just play games. Welcome to my tennis coaching podcast. As always, with me, your host, Steve Whelan. Change of scenery today. I'm in the car. If you see my last podcast now, a few weeks back, you would know my wife was expecting the baby. So it's been quite difficult over the past couple of weeks to film with crying babies, sleepless nights. So I've got 20 odd minutes for my next lesson. So I've got something on my mind today that I want to discuss. But today we're going to discuss just playing games. And over the past few weeks, I've had a few comments aimed at me through coaches, peers, parents, national governing body coaches of this constraint-led approach, ecological dynamics. Steve just plays games. Just plays games. He's not technical enough. There's not enough teaching. There's not enough technique. There's not enough intervention. He just sets up a game and takes a step back. And I want to address that today. And from the outside, it may look that way. And I've talked about this on the podcast and the video podcast before of when I'm working, and I work at a center with a few other coaches, and the other coaches are very loud, lots of conversations, lots of teaching, lots of explicit learning, lots of demonstrations, lots of interventions. And then you've got me who plays these crazy games and seems to not communicate a lot. And when I do communicate, it's generally the players are talking and I'm listening, and I might just ask some questions, and generally the player is leading. So I can see how it looks to parents. I understand that. And I think on reflection over the past couple of weeks, from talking to a few parents, that's on me. Maybe I've not communicated what I'm doing well enough. But what people don't see is just how in tune with the lesson I am. I'm not being egotistic or saying I'm amazing. But when you watch coaches coach, and I do it a lot because it's part of my job as a coach developer or coach educator, is I watch a lot of coaches. Most of it is planned. So coaches will have a plan of a lesson. They'll have a lesson idea of a warm-up, close practice, or practice one, progression, and then possibly some games at the end. And they'll have a teaching point that flows through each bit. That's how a lot of coach education models work as well. The issue with that form of coaching for me, and this is always my opinion, is if you go in with a pre-notion of this is what I'm going to work on today, you miss an awful lot because you're going in with such a focus on a certain specific part of the game. You're probably going to miss everything else in and around it. If you go in with the mindset of I'm going to fix the contact point, you probably have a pre-existing notion of what the issue is. The swinging too big, or the preparation's too late, or they're not tying their hips and shoulders early enough. You'll think back to a model, a technique model of, okay, what probably causes late contact. And that's all you go in looking for. So when you do your little game assessment at the start, that's all you look for. You look for this pre-notion of the manual. But when things go wrong, get the manual out and have a look. And then when you start teaching the contact point, that's all you focus on then. And no matter what happens with the player, the coach will just go on through the lesson plan because they've planned it. And they'll have the close drill. Okay, let's basket feed 100 forehands. Now let's do forehand and backhand. Now let's do a rally of 5 and play the point out. Now let's play points at the end, and you'll score bonus points if you hit the ball cross court or whatever. And no matter what happens to the player, the coach will just follow that plan. And a lot of the interventions that the coach does, it's all based on this model of what the coach and the preconception of, I'm going to fix it. I call it fix it, Felix now. So I'll go in to fix it, and this is how I'm going to fix it. I've got the solution. I'm going to tell the player how to fix it. I'm going to go for the next hour, and I'm going to improve it. And from the outside, that looks like really good coaching, isn't it? Oh, coach's got lots of knowledge. Oh, they're getting in, they're fixing. That's a word I've heard a lot recently. These coaches need to fix more, need to get involved more interventions. It might not even be the contact point that's the issue. Like, it might be a behavior. Is the player actually ready to play? I think I always go on about the perception action, but if they can't see the ball, it's going to affect their movement. So is it actually how the body's moving, or is it something else? Is it the fact they can't read the ball very well? Potentially. But going in with these pre-planned conceptions or ideas or plans, is that great coaching? And then going in and just giving solutions, is that great coaching? I don't think it is, because you're going in and you're just giving textbook answers that might not be right. I say it a lot on this podcast. It's just an opinion. We don't know if it's actually going to work. We don't know if what you're teaching him is actually going to make it worse, because you might be stopping him performing an action that's more natural to them, because you're trying to shoehorn this movement that you've read in the textbook, or you've seen on Instagram or YouTube, onto this player. But that's what people see as good coaching. That's not coaching. That's just delivering a lesson, a script. Coaching is about connection and being in tune with the player and seeing what's happening, and then making quite minute changes to get a better solution. And that's what I try and do. Because if I go in and tell the player what I would like them to do, they're going to try and please me. So, for example, when they play tournaments, they're going to act naturally because I'm not there. But when I'm there, they're going to try and please me. So they're going to try and perform what I've showed them. It's not going to stick. It's going to change. And I guarantee 90% of the coaches on this video, you've done lessons where the player gets it and you go and watch him play a tournament and it disappears. Because again, the behavior changes based on the intention. So I like to think I'm more in tune because I take a step back. I don't give the answers away. I let the player have a go at the problem. I can see why, because I do step back. What people don't see is what's going through my head. And I'm watching the game and I'm watching the interaction with the player and the game. I'm looking at the behavior. Are they focused? Are they alert? Are they confident? Are they nervous? Are they scared? Are they committed? Are they trying to solve the problem? Are they way off base and have no clue how to solve it? Or are they quite close but might need a bit nudging? And I'm watching it. I'm not talking, I'm not shouting, I'm not giving away the answers. I don't want them to react to what they think I want them to do. I want them to act naturally. And to do that, I've almost got to be invisible. I've almost got to put myself in positions where the players forget I'm there. But I'm coaching. I would argue I'm more in-depth coaching than a lot of the people in and around me, because I'm tuned in to what's actually in front of me. I've not got a pre-written script of what I'm going to work on. I might have an intention what I want to explore, but where the lesson goes, I don't know. I want the players to take me on the journey. So what I do then is, okay, if they're a million miles away, I speak to the player. I want to get their input. I want them to tell me what they see, what choices they made, why they made those choices. I need that information because I can't see it from their point of view. I see it from a 41-year-old tennis coach experience. I don't see it from an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old experience. I'm also not playing the game. So I don't know what they've seen. I've only got an opinion based on my position. And you hear it all the time at tournaments. Oh, how did he miss that? It was so easy. Not easy. It looks easy from this point of view because you're not playing and you've got a different angle than the player. It's actually quite challenging. So I speak to the player and the player tells me, and then based on what the player says, we'll come to some kind of agreement and we'll change something. If the player is way off base and they're nowhere near a solution, then I'll start to guide them towards maybe a more effective solution, or give them something to think about that they've maybe not thought about, or point something out to them that maybe that they're missing. But I do it in a way in which it's not explicit, it's implicit. And it's not a leading question either. And we may manipulate the game, we may manipulate what we're working on, the rules, to try and get a better solution. And then I step back and I'll watch how they interact with the game again. And do I see a change in the player? If not, okay, let's get them back in again. Did you go out and carry out what we agreed? If not, why? If you did go out and sort of commit to what we just agreed, why? What happened? What influenced your decision there? And to me, that, again, being biased, to me, it's really good coaching, because I'm trying to empower these players and give them a voice and let them make the decisions themselves. Because ultimately, when they play matches, they have to make their own choices. And it frustrates me when I speak to parents or other coaches or national governing body coaches when they speak to me, because we have this notion of, if we tell someone technique, that they learn it straight away. If I show someone something, they'll learn it. They haven't got the foggiest clue of how we learn movement in that case. It's just inside this preconceived idea of, if you show and tell someone something, that's the way they learn. Then they just got to repeat it over and over again, then they'll get better at it. Absolutely no idea of how to interact with an environment, how to use the perception action coupling, how we engage with an environment, everything that we need as a tennis player. So it's really frustrating, and it's cost me players. Like, I've lost some players because of it. Again, I mean, that's down to me, because maybe I've not agreed, and sometimes I am a bit stubborn, because, again, players or parents say to me, I really want you to be very explicit and break down the technique and build it up, because I've seen such do it. I turn around and say, no, I don't believe in it. And these are my reasons why. And if you don't believe in that, then you go off, and they go off and they think they're going off to something better. That's their choice. But it's frustrating when I get labeled of, oh, you just play games. When I'm like, I'm not playing games. I'm probably coaching more than people in and around me. I'm probably coaching more than the coaches that you're seeing shouting, who are just delivering a routine. They're just delivering a show. They're not actually coaching. Coaching is actually helping players become the best they can be, not telling them how to be the best they can be, helping them. The only person that's helping is the coach. The coach will feel better about themselves because they feel like they're coaching. That's not coaching. And again, I keep going back to this over and over again. It's not what we coach, it's how we coach. Anyone, me and you could, if the coach runs this, me and you could do both the same drill, and we'll both approach it in different ways. And we'll both get different results because of how we coach, not what we coach. And that's why when you put drill books and stuff out, just because the drills work for me doesn't mean they're going to work for you. How we deliver it, how we engage with it, how we interact with it, be completely different. I'm watching how the player interacts with the game, and I'm then trying to help guide the player, not by shouting, not by showing, not by giving them answers, by getting them to think for themselves. And it's challenging because we have this mindset of what tennis coaching looks like: shouting, explicit instructions, lots of technique. Not tennis coaching. It's snake oil. It's pretending that you have the solution to fix their tennis problems, and you haven't. You're just giving them something that they believe. It's a placebo. You just have a placebo effect of, okay, I'll go with Steve because he's a very technical coach, because he says all these big words, and all he shouts is turn and C shape and finish over your shoulder. I'm going to relaunch a podcast in a few weeks. I will try and do some of these, maybe car journals, over the next couple of weeks. But I do have plans of relaunching a podcast, and got some great guests lined up as well. Have some good coaching conversations. If you'd like to jump on and have a coaching conversation with me, feel free. And as always, check out mytenniscoaching.com. Check out My Tennis Coach Academy. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. Please like and share this podcast or video if you're over on YouTube. It really helps get the channel out. And until next time, I'll speak to you soon.